On this episode of Bucks County Paranormal Investigations.
Rob, what the hell is going on around here?
The team investigates one of the most historic railroads in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, the New Hope Ivyland Railroad. In tonight's episode, Night Fright at the New Hope Railroad. My name is Eric Mintel. By night, I'm a professional jazz musician, but by even later at night, I investigate the paranormal. I, along with my team at Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, travel the country investigating all things paranormal. This is Bucks County Paranormal Investigations. The New Hope Railroad is nestled 37 miles outside Philadelphia in Bucks County's premier destination, New Hope, Pennsylvania. A Delaware river town full of unique shops and restaurants. Travel back in time on tracks that were first laid in 1891. And join us now for the first definitive historical and paranormal investigation ever to take place on this site. Bucks County Paranormal Investigations investigates the New Hope Railroad.
Railroad came to town in 1891, so the majority of the facilities were built in 1889, 1890. Open for business in March of 1891. Two original structures we have are the freight house in its existing location, and the ticket office is actually a couple hundred feet away from its original location. It would have been right up at the street when the railroad originally opened. That would have just been for tickets, would have been for telegraphs back in the day. The line originally would have operated all the way down to Philadelphia to the Reading terminal down on Market Street. The line in theory still goes down there today, but our service stops in Warminster, and the regional rail provider in the area, SEPTA, picks up the rest of the line all the way down into Philadelphia. We run tourist experiences throughout the majority of the year. The basic one is our narrated excursion between here and Lahaska, most often featuring steam locomotive number 40 that was built in 1925. Most of our passengers will be riding in antique cars that date back to the 19-teens. We're in something that would have reflected like the 1915 experience, and we have a couple of parlor cars that have tables and chairs where we have beverage service where you take a 45 to 60 minute ride and you hear the history of not only the railroad but the area. And then as we get into like the October through December time period, we run more themed excursions, trick or treat, Halloween, so a haunted experience on board the train itself. And then our most popular experience is the North Pole Express and Santa's themed train ride, and that operates November and December.
It's a place that inspires the dreamers, the overachievers. A place for those who follow the path, as well as the ones who blaze them. So whether you want to go with the flow or rise above it all, visit Bucks County and be inspired.
After learning about the incredible history of the railroad from General Manager Mike Donovan, it was time for us to get to work. First up, a railroad employee who had some very mysterious encounters at the railroad.
My name is Larry Weichel. I've been working at the railroad for about 7 years now. Prior to that, I was the manager of the New Hope Visitor Center. And on several occasions, I personally had some encounters with paranormal experiences. The latest one that I experienced was last year, 2020, doing inventory in the gift shop. In the beginning of the entrance area, we heard a large bang, and we peeked around the corner and we saw one of the Christmas bells had fallen from its perch and landed in the center of the floor. And what was unusual about it is that if a bell would tip, it would probably be on its side. However, this one was straight up, just as though it had been going from its perch straight down into the center of the floor. Several weeks later, one of the managers came through and she noticed that the bell had again gone off its perch and was again in the middle of the floor. She checked around, there was no one else there. There is a code to get in, So this mysterious bell paranormal experience has happened to 3 of us. Myself, the lady that helped, and one of the managers.
Next, I spoke with James, who had his own incredible story.
So one evening after running 40, a long day of running 40, myself and Mike Donovan were in the shop. He left me alone to put the engine to sleep, as we say, or bank off the engine. And the coal in the tender was at a point where there was no downward slope. It was almost flat. It was all quiet. I'm paying attention to pressure and how my fire is dying down. And all of a sudden, I hear coal get scooped from the tender to where the deck is at my feet. And Mike isn't in the shop. No one's around. And of course, my first thought is gravity might have caused the coal to slide down. But then, I keep in the back of my mind that, there is this spirit that used to be around. His name's Richard. We have referred to him as Richard Carter. And he used to love working on 40 and running 40 and firing for 40. And so in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, Richard's here. He's doing me a favor. He's giving me a little bit more coal because he knows I'm going to need to bank off the engine a little bit more. I didn't really think anything of it. In my mind, I said, thank you, Richard, and went back to doing my normal evening routine before checking out for the evening. It wasn't until this past weekend I was on duty as the duty officer for my very first shift. I had just gotten to the point to where I was comfortable being in the shop alone, and I was working on our dining car, 4907. As I'm scraping the paint off the window, I notice what looks to be a dark, shadowy figure standing in the time room entryway. I look over, glance at it, and I look back down, check my phone, and I look back up, and it was almost as clear as day. Just the light coming through, and I was like, that was the first real apparition that I've ever seen in the shop.
After Larry and James' riveting accounts, we meet up with Dominic and Karen, who are investigating the storage area.
In here, and I feel like at some point this was even held up. I keep getting someone holding the place up, and I'm getting that issue here with my throat again. There is a woman behind the counter. There is someone that does have a gun.
While Dominic and Karen try to crack the code of the mystery in the storage area, Dave and I decided to take a stroll of the dinner car to see what else we could find.
That would have held this up a long time ago, way back in history. This is nothing of today. I'm not sure that they were successful, though.
After admiring the incredible architecture, Dave and I decided to meet up with Dominic and Karen.
The holdup,
Yes.
I got the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I got it up in the front corner.
Mm.
And it was with the gentleman that you had talked about.
A lot of people that I'm picking up on, but there's a gentleman balding that I'm seeing. He has a little band around his arm and a long sleeve white shirt. He has a vest on. I feel like he did a lot here.
It was him.
I feel like, wait.
Telegraph operator was up in the front corner.
There's more stuff that I haven't told you about this that Larry told me about. Check this out.
After Dominic's account of what he thinks was a robber at the station, it made me go back to Larry's account of what happened at the visitor center, dealing with a table that was moved.
After much discussion, we felt that there may have been an apparition, a ghost, so to say, from one of the prisoners that had been held in the basement trying to get out of the visitor center, and the table, which is directly over the cells, blocked the ghost or the paranormal activity from having free reign. After the table was moved, this entity had free reign and took revenge on all the co-workers that were there at the time.
Larry confirmed earlier what Dominic and Karen had also been sensing.
But the area you're talking about
Definitely.
is where 3 of us sensed something, yes.
Okay. When I had walked in, the gentleman motioned to me to come to the front corner.
What, where I am?
Right where you're standing. And he took me to the front corner. The gentleman that you described stood up from the corner, turned around and put his hands up, which is telling me he was being robbed.
And they came in the women's
And I said they
entrance.
came through that door. And he said, well, that's the women's entrance. And I think that's why I think it was a guy that held him up looking for something.
Dave, I can't believe this, man. We just found out that David Copperfield actually made this train car.
This one? This is the one?
This train car disappear.
Bridge and building manager Rob Cull confirmed this immediately.
Copperfield did make it disappear.
Rob, what the hell is going on around here?
I don't know. I just work here.
We hadn't heard from Dom, so we decided to check in.
Where the hell are you?
Go for Davy. You guys seen anything out there?
Karen hopped aboard one of the train cars to try to get a read on what she had been feeling earlier.
I love the way that we use our gifts to pick up on history, and I keep picking up on a conductor. He feels a little bit more recent history, that it feels the touristy feel to this. I keep seeing a gray mustache, gray and white mustache. He's a little bit taller than me. I want to say about average height for a man. I feel like he hung out here and he truly enjoyed all of the people.
I met up with Karen to recap what she was feeling in the train car. This would play in later to the investigation that night. As daylight was dwindling, we met up and went to our next location. But before doing so, Karen had a familiar problem we were having with a flashlight. Looking for a vacation home? Look no further. Will Nicholson of Tomlinson Sotheby's has just what you're looking for. World-class entertainment at Schweitzer Mountain or water sports at Lake Pend Oreille, Idaho has it all. Fresh powder skiing, live music, multiple restaurants, and downhill biking in the summer. And if you're lucky enough, you might spot Bigfoot. He loves it here. Give Will a call today.
Oh, and it stopped. Yeah, it was just flickering and flashing as we were standing outside of the freight house, and it just stopped.
That's what happened to us over at the Golden Plow Inn. It's also affecting my. It's also affecting my
flashlight.
Look at this. Now it's going to 0.4. Oh, we're getting some here. Look at this. Dave, do you ever think you'd be hunting ghosts?
No. Glad I am, though.
With Dave's optimistic approach to the rest of the evening, we headed to our next site.
The Rail Yard.
The Rail Yard has always been a place of paranormal activity, and also a place not many people get to see. Getting an up-close look at these incredible machines from a bygone era was an unforgettable experience.
Well, guys, the time has come, I think, to head into the shop and find out what's going on. You ready?
Let's
go.
Be great.
All right, let's do it. Let's go.
As soon as we entered the shop, a heavy presence fell over the whole group.
You feel anything in here?
Oh, absolutely. This is incredible. What about you, Dom?
I feel a lot.
While Dominic and Karen were exploring other areas, Rob Cull gave us some information about this space.
So, Rob, how long have you been here?
I've been working here for about 3 years.
And in that time, have you experienced any paranormal activity, or have you experienced maybe, something as a result of the paranormal activity?
I've experienced stuff that's like as the result of paranormal activity.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I've had problems with technology in some of the older buildings, specifically the station building. Have problems in that building constantly.
While Rob gave us some revelating information, Karen was right on track.
I keep getting the lights flickering, and there's a lot of electronic disturbances in here.
The station building would be the main building back then. In the old days, that would be the main center of everything, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Our investigation continued long through the night as Dave, Dominic, Karen, and I continued to feel strange energy in the shop. Suddenly, Karen called in and stopped us in our tracks.
Go for Karen.
Go for Karen.
I am picking up on, I believe it is an engineer. This gentleman, I feel like he would have passed a long time ago, so that we're going back in history. There was liquid in his lungs towards the end, but I can see him in my mind's eye running this train. I can feel the coal being shoveled into the train.
Karen is almost in the exact same space as James was when he heard the sound of coal being shoveled.
And then all of a sudden I hear coal get scooped from the tender to where the deck is at my feet.
I can see another gentleman that's standing there with him, and the third is doing the shoveling. I'm also seeing a scene as the train is out on the tracks and doing its run, so I'm seeing the train in motion. Very interesting man, not a man of a lot of words, but he definitely likes his job.
All right, we'll be right over. Come on, Bill.
So I was asking Rob if there have been electronic disturbances.
I've had problems with technology in some of the older buildings.
Yes, and it has had to be repaired several times, even like a locking, unlocking. Have you had that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In the ticket office, the security system is constantly having problems out there.
So Rob, let me ask you this though. That has been fixed, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Solid. Karen, you picked right up on that.
And just like that, our investigation of the New Hope Railroad was over. But was it?
What blew me away was Rob had told me, that's what I didn't want to tell you. He had told me about the electronic difficulties that they were having in the ticket office. But the fact that you picked it up back here in the shop, but it's all part of the whole situation. And we had said maybe they don't want to bring the new technology, they want to keep it old technology.
Oh, absolutely.
Be like it used to be.
Exactly. Well, I can't wait to look at this footage, man, and see what else is on there, because you know how it is.
Sometimes you see orbs or something.
Exactly, and it's always like after, in the editing process, like we'll see something. So I can't wait to look at that footage. But guys, again, tonight, what an unbelievable investigation. Always great to have you.
Absolutely, it was great.
Bucks County Paranormal Investigations. Stay tuned.
Even though we captured nothing out of the ordinary, we heard some incredible stories that require further investigation. One thing is certain, the beautiful New Hope Railroad remains a popular destination for tourists and locals. Take a trip back in time and see for yourself what it's like to ride the rails through beautiful Bucks County. Book your trip today.